All right, what's up, guys? Ooh. All right, we're live. Welcome, guys. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're having a good week. Yeah, what can I say? It's been a good week. Been busy. I'm moving in the next couple of weeks. Just got signed the lease on a new place. Really sweet place. Has an amazing yard. Lots of privacy, which is like my priority, right? Having a nice practice space in nature. So moving in the next couple of weeks. I'm excited. Before I get into the Q&A, I just want to talk a little bit about cultivating sexual energy, right? So sexual energy, this is a common theme. Or I should say, this is, many ancient esoteric traditions talk about this bringing upwards of the sexual energy, changing the way that we experience it in our bodies, being able to transmute this energy. So for people, not necessarily intentionally. Phone there. So when we have this experience of sexuality and sexual energy flow as only this downward outward flow of energy, this is kind of a lust driven pattern, right? Because we're conditioned through porn, through media to experience sex as this limited physical connection. And this causes this downward flow of our energy, pulls our energy down into our genitals, and then we eject it out of our bodies. For men, anyway, this is, kind of the pattern we're conditioned into, right? And this is one that depletes your energy over time. It's one that depletes your hormones, depletes your gene, depletes your vitality. You ejaculate, you keep losing and losing energy. And it's not like, a single ejaculation kills you, but over a period of time of doing this every single day, you have a bucket that's leaking basically, right? And eventually that's going to dry up. So the question is, what are you doing to replenish that bucket? What are you doing to rebuild your energy? And so the esoteric traditions talk about establishing this upward flow of your sexual energy so that you're no longer leaking it out. You're no longer driven by, a complete lust based connection to sex and sexuality, right? So you start to create this upward flow of your sexual energy, which you do by opening pathways in the body, the opening of the microcosmic orbit, opening of these vessels that energy can flow through. And you start to reprogram your sexual energy to flow upwards in the body. So instead of just, dripping it out of your body, you bring it upward. So it's like that bucket of water you have, instead of it leaking, now you're taking it and you're steaming it. So it steams upward into the tubing of your body. You collect that energy. It is circulated throughout your body, enhancing all aspects of your mind, your body, your health. And so this is a superior path, in my opinion, of engaging in sex in a different way. Because when you create this upward flow of sexual energy in your body, now when you go to have sex, you will naturally have this upward flow of sexual energy. So you're no longer ejaculating every time you have sex. This is how you start to get it, into full body orgasm states. Non-ejaculatory orgasms is this reprogramming of bringing up the sexual energy. And a huge component of this as well is activating the heart space. As I was mentioning, working with lust alone, it pulls energy down and it tends to pull energy out of you. So for men, we often have this disconnect from our heart center and our sexual center because, we're programmed by society to kind of be robots, right? You can't feel, you can't express emotions. And I'm not saying, you should be like a beta male, complaining about everything. That's not what I'm saying, but it's this ability to hold that masculine space of an open heart, that compassion, that respect, that love, that striving to make the world a better place around you. When you connect that open heart with your sexual center, which is usually completely disconnected for, most people in this world, fusing that sexual energy with your loving energy, it raises the vibration. You mix these two forces together and you have this powerful, expansive force that is incredibly healing. And then you have sex with your partner, you exchange this energy, you exchange this loving energy connected, combined with your sexual energy. And that is incredibly powerful. When you experience this dynamic of sex and sexual cultivation, you're not going to go back to sitting in front of your computer, masturbating to porn for 5 hours just to try to release tension from your body. It's just not going to attract you anymore because you feel what it's like to be charged up. You felt what it's like to raise your vibration with sexual energy, have these powerful full body orgasmic experiences. And you know what else? You become a sovereign being. You become a very empowered being. So many people in this world are under control because they've given control away to powers outside of themselves because someone convinced them that they were, if someone convinced you that, oh, you're weak, you're helpless, you need me to do this thing for you, right? That is a control system. So when you get in this path of internal cultivation, develop your sexual energy, develop your internal energy, learn to circulate it, learn to cultivate it, harness it, and you're no longer leaking your energy out. You become a sovereign being and you can manifest whatever you want. You can create whatever life you want to live because when you have the skill, the discipline, the willpower from your daily practice to do this work, it carries over to every aspect of your life. So this is really about stepping into being a conscious creator, taking control of every aspect of your life, no longer giving your power away to someone else because they convinced you that you're weak and you need their help, right? You need their control system. So guys, this is the time to step into your highest power and really bring some amazing shit down to earth, right? We need to create some amazing stuff on this planet. So cultivating sexual energy, for me has been one of the most helpful tools in being able to do that. So that's the rant for today, guys. I'm going to get into some questions now. Hallie, I am in Idaho. I'm in Boise, Idaho. So northwestern US. Okay, this question from YouTube with Fire. Hey, Powell, how's it going, brother? Okay, with Fire asks, breathwork before or after Qigong? I like to do it before Qigong because it kind of depends, but in general, I find breathwork that really helps me kind of get activated, right? Kind of bring my mind into my body, centered and grounded, because you want to really be in your body when you do Qigong. So you're not just kind of, thinking about things up in your head and kind of moving your arms around disconnected. So I think breathwork before Qigong is great, but it doesn't really matter whether you do before or after. Okay, Poetry by Gustavo is asking, do you switch off between NoFap and semen retention? I've never been part of the NoFap movement. I've never said I'm a NoFapper. It's never really been my path. NoFap is quite different than what I'm teaching. I think NoFap's great. I think there's a lot of benefits to it, but at the same time, it becomes a bit rigid and it doesn't, people doing NoFap, they learn to suppress their sexuality, their sexual energy, and that's about it. And when you suppress something over a period of time, eventually it's going to become stronger, right? That which you suppress actually grows. So when you start to associate shame and guilt around sexuality, like, self-pleasure, whatever, it becomes a really unhealthy pattern. And a lot of people doing NoFap, they go back to ejaculating frequently when they get a partner and they start having sex. You don't actually learn how to control your sexual energy through most of what people are teaching in NoFap. And this wasn't my introduction to. I didn't get into semen retention because it wasn't even necessarily because I wanted to do semen retention. I was studying Taoist internal energy practices and was realizing, ejaculating's, it's burning up my energy. So I learned how to channel that energy upward in my body because I wanted to be able to have non-ejaculatory orgasms. And naturally, because of that, I realized, it actually doesn't feel very good to ejaculate frequently. So I stopped, so my path, my approach is a bit different. And it's not about stopping anything. It's about rewiring your experience of sex and sexuality. Because if you just suppress it, you stop doing it, you haven't really changed anything. You haven't developed any skills. So with the path of sexual kung fu, you learn how to, you use self-cultivation as a tool to learn how to control your ejaculation and to stop associating sexual pleasure with ejaculating so you can have non-ejaculatory orgasms that actually charge you up. You can capture that powerful aroused energy and put it into other things. So it's a bit different. Okay, KXNG 1997 says, I find it hard to stop watching porn. I need your help. Check out my YouTube playlist on porn addiction. I've made several videos about this. Grab a little smoothie break here. All right. Blizz Decor asks, any opinions on brahmacharya? So brahmacharya it's the Indian yogic practice of, it's basically not engaging in sensual, indulgences. It's path of celibacy, no sex, no sexual thoughts, no sexual feelings, right? This often falls into what I was just talking about, this path of suppression. It's nearly impossible to go your life without having sexual thoughts and sexual desires. If you're going to engage in society, it's one thing to live in a cave your whole life, be a monk, sure, it's easy to do that, but I don't want to live in a cave and be a monk. I don't want to hide away. I want to engage in society. I want to co-create with this world and engage in what's happening, be, kind of down in the mud with people, right? So when I can cultivate my energy and stay balanced doing that, to me, that's kind of the path of modern mastery, right? So brahmacharya, the problem again with complete celibacy is that sex is very, very actually beneficial for you, right? Uh, if you don't engage in sex, if you never experience sex and orgasm, your endocrine system kind of stops functioning. It kind of atrophies, and this can actually accelerate your aging. And this is what one of the big differences between the brahmacharya approach and some of the Taoist approaches was that the Taoists say sex is a natural thing. So you should engage in it in a way that you actually increase your energy. Obviously, it can be very depleting, but if you use sexual cultivation as a path to increase your energy, exchange energy with the partner, and use that to amplify your spiritual path, to me, that's the most fulfilling path personally. But of course, everyone has their own purpose, their own preference, their own path to walk. It's not for me to say what's right or wrong, but this is my, the path that I'm walking. Francisco Beckman's asking, when you say you get high on Qigong, you mean you have unaroused full body orgasm? Does Qigong work? Okay, so that first question. I do get into pretty orgasmic feeling states doing Qigong. Like when Qi becomes very, very tangible. And as you practice, cultivating Qi, it feels phenomenal. Like for me, it's like this current of warm, radioactive, electrical, hydraulic fluid moving through my body. So that does feel very, very orgasmic, but it's also kind of a head high, right? It's like you just feel this clarity. You just feel good. You just feel high. You just feel inspired. Kind of an altered state of clarity, being in the moment, and things like that. So that's what Qigong does for me, and that's why I do it every day. Okay, then the second part of the question was, does Qigong work with sexual energy just as testicle breathing or power lock? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking there, but Qigong certainly can work with sexual energy. There's Qigong practices, a lot of sexual Kung Fu is Qigong practices working with sexual energy directly. Okay, Mahmoud, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Mahmoud, I'm probably butchering that. He's saying, after squeezing the PC muscles and stopping ejaculation, where does the semen go? And does semen retention stop consuming my seminal fluid, or does semen retention consume my seminal fluid but it gets reabsorbed? So the first part of the question, so you're squeezing your PC muscles. Usually you're actually use the BC muscles, the perineum muscles, but it might also be the PC. There's different pelvic floor muscles, and it tends to all get labeled the PC muscles. So it's important to know there's different muscle groups. But if you're talking about hitting the point of no return, so you start to have that, genital spasm orgasm, but you're squeezing to hold back in the fluid, what often happens is you have a retrograde ejaculation. So if it feels like a full-on, genital orgasm, it's just the same, then yeah, you're still losing energy. What happens in a retrograde ejaculation is the fluid moves into your bladder, and you'll know that this is happening because afterwards you'll urinate and it'll be full of semen. It'll be like really foamy, a lot of like floaty stuff in it. That's your semen. So you haven't retained your semen in this case. You've had a retrograde ejaculation. This is not the method I teach. You don't want to hit the point of no return, right? You want to avoid that, because if you hit that point of no return, usually you will lose energy as you have this genital peak orgasm. And the second part, when you're practicing semen retention, it's not like the body ever stops producing sperm. The body's always producing sperm, and eventually the sperm dies, and you urinate it out, or you release it in a wet dream, nocturnal emission, or the body reabsorbs it. So this is what happens with your sperm. So it never really stops being produced, but the body places less of an emphasis on sperm production when you're not constantly ejaculating. Okay, Adam Heath 24 is wanted to ask the best way to strengthen your pelvic floor if you have a weak spot in lower mid back, which is shut off your glutes and your core. Well, overall, for strengthening pelvic floor, doing Kegels and reverse Kegels, balancing out the pelvic floor is very helpful. Also, opening up the pelvic floor through stretching, developing flexibility in the lower body, doing like squats and things like that is really helpful. Squats in general are a great exercise as well for developing that pelvic floor health. Have I heard anything about the shift of energy on the 26th? No, but there's there's so many energy shifts happening on the planet right now. It's crazy. Like the past week, I don't know, maybe it's just my personal experience, but there's been a huge influx of energy the past couple of weeks for me personally. And there's always these dates oh, this is going to happen in this future date. And, I don't know. Basically, things are in constant change, constant energetic bombardments on the planet right now. If you pay attention to the Schumann resonance, it's going crazy. So yeah, we're in a very transformational time. Stay grounded, stay connected to the earth, and it's going to be great. Okay. Imagine Wolf is asking, what's the best way to clear severe emotional and energetic blockages? I can literally feel it stuck around my chest and heart area. My go-to practice is Qigong. Qigong is an incredible practice. I teach, I have a Qigong playlist on YouTube. This is a gentle practice that will slowly kind of wear away blockages over time. So that's, I really encourage you to have that as a daily practice. Sometimes it may be good to have, there's different practices for clearing blockages, right? Breath work, specifically a blockage in the heart, the chest area. Working with the microcosmic orbit can help open this up. Qigong, as I mentioned, learning to open your heart, connecting with feelings of compassion, kindness, practicing that can be helpful as well. And sometimes it can be good to have external help as well. Seeing a healer, an acupuncturist, a Reiki practitioner, something like that, right? Bliss Decor is asking, you think I should do energy cultivation in middle school? Yeah, it's never, it's a good time to start for sure. I wish I had started, my practice earlier in my life, but I have no regrets. Okay, Olaf Tryhard's asking, how do I feel my chi moving through my body? More advice for me. It takes practice. It also takes building your chi, first of all. If there's not much there, then there's not going to be much to feel. The best practice for you is going to be the Dantian breathing practice. I have a video of this on YouTube. That will build your core energy. It will build the Dantian, which is the battery of your energy. And that will build your supply of chi. And you'll start to feel that tangibly. You'll feel that heat, that radiance in the belly as you do the practice. And also Qigong. Check out my Qigong playlist. Some of the more recent videos I post on there, those will help you start to feel the energy in your body tangibly. Okay. What practice should I use when I feel aroused and want to watch porn and masturbate? Something that makes you feel good. Maybe that's going for a run, cardiovascular exercise, getting some of that energy out of you can be helpful, but also I find doing Qigong, testicle breathing, and microcosmic orbit would be very helpful as well, because that will, get that sexual energy moving, right? You want to get some movement with that sexual energy other than like moving towards a porn image, right? So the microcosmic orbit and testicle breathing will help move that energy through your body and kind of change the form of it. It's a great daily practice for, sexual energy. Sixth Film is asking, strengthening the PC muscles first before practicing non-ejaculatory orgasms is ideal. It's helpful, but not necessarily. There's many aspects to this, right? And of course, the most common method people are teaching is have a super strong pelvic floor, and then as soon as you hit the point of no return, you squeeze everything to hold the fluid in. That's going to be a very limited peak orgasm, limited to the genitals. That's not what I'm teaching. Is energy, basically internal energy orgasms in your body. They're much more internal. It's not a peak orgasm. It's a state of orgasm that starts to build in your entire body. And what you really want for this is the ability to move energy in your body. And something that actually prevents men from experiencing this is having too tight of a pelvic floor. So, Kegels, depends on the context. They can be helpful or hurtful, right? You always want to balance strengthening the pelvic floor with relaxing and stretching it out through reverse Kegels and other practices. Juan Nunez 97 is asking, how big of a role does nutrition play? I'm not sure like the context, how big of a role in what, but overall nutrition is, important. Our bodies are made of what we put in them. So if we put garbage in our bodies, they're going to be made of garbage, right? So eat healthy, eat organic, get all your minerals, get everything. But yeah, nutrition's big for overall health, longevity, and sexual vitality. Francisco Beckman's asking, how do you massage your testicles? So all right, testicle massage. Hold your testicles between your fingers like this and just kind of squeeze and rotate like this. A good amount of pressure, like it'll be a little bit intense. Obviously, you don't want it to be like super painful, but just do that for a couple minutes. You can go both directions, and it's a good way to improve your semen production, improve your hormone production. Is testicle massage. I do it every morning and every night before I go to sleep. Okay, is the dawn said Dawn Turn? I think you're saying Dawn Tien. Is this the same energy center as the navel chakra? No, the Dantian is not a chakra. It's completely different from the chakras. They share the same energetic space as it kind of relates to the navel, really the lower three chakras, but it's different. Don't mix these things together. They're completely different. The Dantian is just an energetic space that fills with chi. It becomes your chi battery, and it actually grows to be pretty big when you really cultivate it. And there's actually 3 Dantians too. There's the belly one, there's one in the heart, there's one in the head. Soul Immortal asks, what is your favorite animal? I don't know. I don't really have a favorite animal. I like the kangaroos in Australia. I spent a few months in Australia, and I would be out doing qigong. I was doing qigong out in the forest. I was doing my standing meditation. I'm completely still, and this kangaroo comes hopping, just like stands next to me for a second, and runs off. God Body asks, how to cultivate a masculine aura? Practice semen retention. Do masculine things. Connect with the qualities of confidence, empowerment, respect. Start to be a creator, be an action taker, right? Work with confidence, be grounded, build your body, lift weights, things like that. And, but I think semen retention is a major part of this as well for cultivating that masculine aura. Don't be someone that like drains the people around you, always complaining, always like reaching out to things from people around you. Be someone that overflows with energy. Cultivate your energy so much that you shine like a sun and you light up at whatever room you're in. And that will give you a very masculine aura. Powell's asking, I've been addicted to porn for 11 years. Would you give me some advice? You've got to create some new habits in your life. Right. So for me, when it comes to like breaking addictions, things like that, my kind of philosophy with this is instead of focusing on fighting the old, put your energy into creating the new. Right. I think that's a really important thing. If you're always like, I need to stop this, I need to stop that, you're putting all this energy into something kind of negative, and what you suppress, again, it strengthens often. So for me, how I personally quit porn, I wasn't trying to quit porn. I was getting into Qigong. I was getting into internal energy cultivation. And, when I started practicing Qigong every day, I started to become really, really sensitive. And I'd be looking at porn and being like, oh, this actually really makes me feel off. I don't really feel good from this. It's just like stuck in my mind all day. I'm thinking about this weird sexual things and it doesn't feel good anymore. So I naturally just stopped doing it. I didn't have to force myself to do it. So start to put your energy into, other things. You can also create like an action plan for yourself. Like, okay, usually at 7:00 at night, I'm on Pornhub jerking off. What can I do instead? Maybe I'll go to the gym instead. Maybe I'll go hang out with friends instead. Maybe I don't know, build something instead, right? Randall Frank's asking, are there certain seasons during the year when sexual energy is more active than others? And which would explain people being so sexually active during spring break? Yeah, our sexual energy, I mean, there's these cycles in nature and our bodies are part of nature. So we're tuned into these cycles. So in the spring, everything's, the chi of the earth is coming up. The trees, they kind of store their nutrients and sap in the roots in the winter. And then in the spring, it starts to rise up. So it's this kind of sexual energy rising up. That's why we feel so sexy in the spring and the summer too. So basically spring and summer, sexual energy is at its highest. In fall, it starts to kind of get pulled back into the earth. So the Taoists say that you can ejaculate more in the spring and summer if you want to, but it's in the fall and the winter that you should really protect your sexual energy and not, discard it. Vegeta, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, sorry, is saying, what are the best herbs to consume during semen retention? It depends what you want to accomplish, right? Herbalism taking supplements, it's based on your individual needs. It's based on what are you excess in or what are you deficient in. So if you're practicing semen retention, you're trying to build more energy because you've been depleted for years, then you want to take more like tonifying herbs, building herbs. So, goji berries, gene building herbs, Hisho Wu, Astragalus, Rehmannia, things like this. But there comes a certain point in semen retention where you replenish your energy, and now you run the risk of being excessive. You're starting to feel excessively horny. You have too much energy. You have insomnia because you have all this heat rising up into your head. So you would want to take some calming herbs in this case to balance yourself out, right? So things like peony root, what's it called? Ziziphus, things like this, right? So it's all about balance. There's no single supplement that's going to be best for everyone. Godbody says, you taking the shot? No, I'm not. I never will. I don't recommend, you do either, but obviously it's a personal choice, but it's not looking good, right? I'm not doing it. I would go out of my way to not do it. I'd rather starve than put this thing in my body. Be careful with that. Okay, John Mao asks, is it bad to practice the microcosmic orbit laying down? I find it difficult to find the right standing position. It's fine to do it laying down, I prefer to do it sitting, but you can definitely do it lying down as well. The kind of risk there is that, you fall asleep. Simon Smith says, your views on giving importance to a hard penis in relation to sexual energy cultivation, full body orgasm, male, female performance, tantra practice of soft entry. So it's, in my opinion, I prefer having a hard penis. Having a strong erection, which is really a sign of your virility and your strength in a body. Also, it's hard for a woman to really get stimulated with a soft penis, So if you're having purely energetic sex, you're just kind of laying there, doing like the passive thing, that's fine. Soft penetration can be fine. It can also be something great for men who are, in poor health, really, getting there in their years, have trouble having erections. Then soft penetration can be a great way to kind of work around that. But overall, I would prefer having, as hard of an erection as, you can, because it leads to more stimulation, more exchange. Healing Indigo says, I've read that semen is created from spinal marrow. Is that true? So the bone marrow, it creates the blood, right? And the blood's further refined into semen. So I think there's some truth to this, which is why, the Taoists have these bone marrow washing practices that increases the amount of bone marrow, because as you age, the bones start to kind of hollow out and fill with fat. There's less marrow in them. So there's practices you can do to increase the bone marrow production, which starts to increase your blood and hormone production. So that's very important. Also good for your immune system. Sean 1996 boy is saying, can numerous short-term cycles of retention have composite effects over time, or can you only reap the benefits of retention with long-term streaks? I worry if I ejaculate, I will lose all of it. All the benefits I gained over long-term streaks. So with retention, it's not like you have to go forever or else it's pointless, right? It's not the case. Think about this. Okay, you have a bucket. Every time you ejaculate, you're tossing a spoonful of water out of that bucket. Eventually, you're going to hit a point in your life if you do that every day where it's empty. But with retention, even if you're only going, a few days at a time, you're no longer dumping as much water out. So you can actually allow yourself to refill that bucket. So that some of the classical Taoist texts say that one in particular says that if you take your age and you multiply it by 0.2, the number that you get is the minimum amount of days you should go between ejaculation. So so someone who's 20 years old, I think it's like 4 days. So it means that if you ejaculate every 4 days, you're not necessarily getting into energetic deficiency, but you're not building energy either. You just kind of stay level there, right? So basically, it's fine to retain cyclically, like if you only retain for a week at a time, you ejaculate once a week, you're still overall going to come ahead of someone who's ejaculating every day. It's not like when you ejaculate, you lose like, okay, let's say you go 3 months without ejaculating. It's not like if you ejaculate at the end of that 3 months, you lose everything you built up over that 3 months. It's just not the case. So yeah, it's about balance. It's not about trying to go the rest of your life without ejaculating. It's about cultivating your energy overall. Any tips on how to get out of learned helplessness? Can Qigong help? I'm not exactly sure. Like, you capitalize learned helplessness like it's a, something. If it's kind of like, okay, basically helplessness, any kind of negative pattern that you're stuck in. First of all, stop telling yourself the story like, I have this, I have learned helplessness, I am learned helplessness. You start to associate with that. You're creating a story for yourself and you're identifying with that. So stop identifying with it. Just say, oh, okay, I feel a bit off today. How can I raise my energy? How can I raise my vibration? Qigong is a great way. Meditation, spending time in nature, getting sunlight on your body, reconnecting to the natural path of nature. If you spend all day in the city, getting bombarded with EMF, getting bombarded with all these people's emotions, it's going to throw you off. So get out in nature. That's the ultimate healing. Go on a camping trip, get out, fill yourself up, but yeah, practice meditation, practice Qigong, balance your body, maybe see a naturopath, a healer, something to kind of help you reestablish that balance in your life. Have I ever tried Cialis? No, I'm not into pharmaceuticals. You don't need these, pharmaceuticals. You can do it yourself with practices, herbalism, whatever. Is an hour of pranayama daily enough to cultivate semen into spiritual energy? I don't know. Usually just breathing practices alone won't do it all for you. It may naturally cause a spontaneous, transmutation of that energy. But me personally, when I was only doing pranayama practices, it didn't really necessarily have a very transmuting effect on my sexual energy. I was still controlled by sexual urges. So for me, from my experience, it really takes a direct practice of working with that sexual energy, moving it through the body directly, because you can be doing breath work, but not necessarily connecting with your sexual energy. It will help keep things flowing overall, but you really want a direct practice of working with sexual energy, which is what sexual Kung Fu is all about. Adam Heath says, I've been practicing semen retention and I've stopped getting morning wood and random arousals. Is this good? Well, morning wood is a strong indication of your sexual vitality and your testosterone level. So if you're not experiencing erections in the morning as a man, it can be a sign that your sexual vitality is lowering. So, keep an eye on that. And here's another thing. Long-term retention, like really long-term retention, can actually lower testosterone levels. It's this use it or lose it situation. That's why I recommend cyclic retention. I recommend having an occasional ejaculation here and there because it will start to get things flowing again. Can semen retention, okay, Sean 1996 boy, can semen retention give the same mental clarity or mental breakthroughs as LSD? For people saying when tripping out, they gain these profound insights to all their life problems where they can see a clear path to guide them on their life's journey and the answers to the questions. I want the experience, but not through the drugs. You're not going to get this alone from semen retention alone. I mean, overall, it's going to boost your mental clarity. You will have a much more heightened sense of things because you're no longer in a deficient brain fog state. But if you want to get to psychedelic states naturally, you want to do meditation. You want to do energetic practices. I teach a practice in my 12-week course called Transformational Breathwork that gets you into kind of a psychedelic state naturally. So it takes a practice, but alone, semen retention can help to build that energy, which you can kind of cultivate and use to put yourself into altered states. Okay, House of Empath says, any thoughts on Falun Gong? Not really. I don't really follow Falun Gong. I know it's kind of a religious system of qigong practice, and it's fine if you vibe with it, that's great. But I don't know, I don't really like some of the more dogmatic things, but I haven't looked into it too much, so I can't say too much about it. Okay, I'm not sure how to say your name. Fackle Draggart. Sorry if I just totally butchered that. He says, "How can I start to have more tantric conscious sex with a lover? Right now, it's all very traditional." Well, I have a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel about how to have tantric sex and things like that. But basically, it's really about expanding your awareness during sex. Typically, as for me personally, I used to be, sex was like, oh, look how sexy they are. Oh, I'm feeling this in my penis. And then I get overstimulated. I'm like, oh, I really want this orgasm. I rush to it and, lose it. So there's a few things you can do to enhance this experience. Number one is working with your breath. Focus on breathing really deeply and slowly in your belly. That will start to expand. You create this bigger container to hold more pleasure in, and really just focus on what you're feeling in your body, right? And focus on your partner as well. See if you can feel into their body. You can move energy into their body. But basically, this is what I teach in my course, is how to have conscious tantric sex, basically, right? So it really comes down to being able to circulate your energy, exchange energy with your partner, breath, mind, awareness, things like this. All these things, will enhance that sexual experience. But making it no longer making it about trying to reach an ejaculatory orgasm, but simply enjoying what is and really focusing on connection. Simon Smith says, "My experience letting my penis be what it is has removed performance anxiety, increased pleasure in me and my lover, and often find full body orgasm or more freely flow, softer semi-hard." So yeah, coming back to should the penis always be hard? So I'm not trying to say you should feel wrong about not having a hard penis. Saying that ideally, my penis is as hard as possible, but yeah, it will fluctuate throughout sex. It may become a bit softer. So yeah, don't worry about it. Allow that to be what it is. But there's also exercises you can do to enhance your erection if you so desire. Just lost my Instagram feed. Pull it back up here. Give me a second, guys. Okay. Godforce1 says, "Is it bad to stop ejaculation when in climax by force?" It can be. It depends what kind of force you're using, right? So the common ones are the $1 million point, or the squeezing the pelvic floor to hold it back in. It's only if you overdo these things that they'll actually damage you. But overall, it's they still, tend to cause retrograde ejaculation. So it's if you're ejaculating, then you should probably just allow it to be and just enjoy it, right? Because when the fluid's flowing, it's okay, you can either enjoy it or you can tense up and try to resist it. So, but the best thing to do is to prevent yourself from getting to that point in the first place. That's really what a lot of the sexual kung fu training is focused on, is once you hit the point of no return, once you're at that 99% arousal rate, it's difficult to pull back down from that. So the best thing to do is to train yourself to stay away from that in the first place, basically, right? Sean 1996 boy. "I've heard people saying semen retention over time can change your bone structure in a subtle way and make your face more symmetrical. Is this true?" I don't know if this is true. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I haven't really seen any research, supporting this or anything, but could be. Elit Tyler 1. says ideal retention time. Depends on your age, your health level, things like that. I would say for most guys, I would try to go at least 2 weeks, or a month. For me, my personal cycle is I ejaculate during sex, only during sex, usually about every month or so, about once a month. That's kind of my cycle now. Of course, in the past, it took me a while to regenerate, all the gene I'd lost. So for the first like 3 or 4 years of retention, I avoided ejaculation as much as I could. But now it's like it doesn't actually affect me at all when I ejaculate once a month because I'm doing all these practices to build my energy. Plus, during sex, I'm drawing the sexual energy up. So sexual kung fu, it's not about stopping ejaculation. It's about learning to recirculate that energy and support it in other ways, to build it up in other ways. So if your whole focus becomes this obsession over never ejaculating again, you're going to become very rigid. You're not going to enjoy life. So instead, it should be more about what makes me feel balanced, what makes me feel good, how can I get the most out of this energy, and if I do ejaculate it out accidentally or purposefully, it's not a big deal, right? So don't make a guilt trip about it. But yeah, I would say for most guys, going a minimum of 2 weeks, at least. Jason Dunn says, how and when can I get your next course? The next round will be opening in July. So every 3 months or so, I open it up for registration, and then I close registration because the group goes through it and we're going on calls together and things like that. So I open it up every few months. So July, it'll be opening back up. If you're on my email list from taking my ejaculation control course, which is free, then you'll know when it opens up. Okay, Poetry by Gustavo says, how do you feel about smoking weed? Harmful for sexual kung fu? It depends. Are you smoking weed every day? Are you smoking weed once a week, once a month? It depends. In general, I don't recommend taking any substance every day. If you're doing something every day, it's probably an addictive pattern. You want to really look at that. Marijuana specifically, it's something that can have benefits, but it's also something that can definitely harm you. So the benefits of weed being that it gives you, a profound shift in your awareness. It helps some people just like chill out, if you're like a type A overstimulated person. If you have like medical conditions, things like that, it can be helpful. But if you're just doing it to get high, then, if it's a daily thing, you want to really look at that pattern, right? It can have some negative effects on your energy. Specifically, weed affects your hormones negatively. If you have it every day, it tends to repress your androgen receptors in your body, decrease your hormones. It releases prolactin in men. So I don't recommend having it every day, but we're humans, everything in moderation. If you have a little bit here and there, it's not going to be a big deal. Does Qigong help me to overcome hyper energy and insomnia on a long streak? Like to channel it because I think it needs more than just sports. Yeah. So physical exercise alone is not going to really, be enough to like really circulate and transform the sexual energy. You want a direct internal energy practice. Qigong's a great start. That will help you open up the channels, get things flowing. But there's also direct practices for working with the sexual energy, like the testicle breathing practice and the microcosmic orbit. Mo Brown says, best herbs to increase testosterone and sexual transmutation. Herbs aren't going to transmute your sexual energy for you, but they can, help you get more chi flow in your body. But for increased testosterone, Tribulus terrestris, I think it's called. Tribulus is a great one. And Tongkat Ali, Tongkat Ali, Tongkat Ali. Those are some good testosterone builders. What else? Maca root is pretty awesome. Shilajit, pine pollen. Pine pollen is amazing. It's basically like the sperm of trees. So you eat that, and it's gonna, it boosts your androsterone, your testosterone. Sean 1996 boy says, you're the next Alan Watts. Johnathan, all things good to you, bro. I'm definitely not Alan Watts, but I appreciate that, brother. Hey, Matthew, what's up? Matthew Mini says, each year, watch all your videos, including the first weird ones. Each year in my life, I promised I'm going to get a girlfriend, but this year, due to CV-19, I gave up. I'm depressed. I'm depressed as fuck. Would you like to help me? Well, first of all, get out of this space of I need a girlfriend. I need this person in my life. Because when you have that pattern of need, I need this, it's going to create a weird dynamic. And if you attract someone from that space, they may be in a similar pattern, and it creates a weird dynamic from my experience of saying this, right? So I encourage you to completely release any expectation, any need to be with someone else, and instead give yourself that love, give yourself that cultivation, to spend time on enjoying life with yourself, enjoying yourself, and stepping into that space of self-love, really cultivating yourself, and when you're overflowing with the self-love, the self-confidence, you will naturally start to attract someone who's in resonance with that vibration. So don't worry about it too much. Okay, Rusty Shackelford says, how do I make my girlfriend comfortable enough to discuss her past sexual trauma in the interest of healing? That is another question too. That's a good question. Sexual trauma can be very difficult, especially for women. Most people in this world have some sort of sexual trauma, a lot of women especially. It's really just about whatever you can do to, help her feel comfortable talking with that. Obviously, if she doesn't want to talk about it, she's not going to talk about it, but you can only start to kind of try to open up that conversation. I don't know how much advice I can give on this, but basically just, create a safe, comfortable space for her to feel open, maybe give her a massage or something, and just start to ask a few questions, I guess. Of course, her, having her own practice is the most helpful. So you can kind of start to open up and process things. And that it really comes down to, we have to do these things for ourselves. No one can do it for us. And the second question was, is there a connection with divorce and sexual behavior in young adulthood? I don't know, maybe not. Ivan Raga says, how to avoid sexual dreams? Well, it's usually a sign that, you have some sort of it's something that you're not allowing yourself to experience in the daily life, maybe, so it manifests in your dreams, right? It's your subconscious saying, hey, this guy's kind of an asshole. He's always telling us what to do. Now he's asleep. We're going to do whatever we want. We have all the sex we want now that he's asleep, right? So it's kind of a mind-body split here. You're suppressing something from your conscious mind throughout the day, and now it's reemerging from your subconscious. So you kind of look at this pattern and say, okay, how can I start to integrate this sexual desire that I actually have deep down into my life in a balanced way? So I'm no longer suppressing it. I'm allowing myself to feel the desires I have and being able to reach them, into completion. So maybe that's finding a partner to, share this with, or it's, doing meditative practices to change the form of the sexual desire, transmute it in the body, running the microcosmic orbit, and some other practices like that. Any downloads to share with us today? Well, I shared my kind of download at the beginning of this video, so you can go back and watch it if you weren't on earlier. Israeli Blue Star says, hard rock erections without mental stimulation. I'm not exactly, you're talking about how to have erections without mentally thinking about things. You can achieve erections through physical stimulation. But basically erection quality, there's many factors to this. I made a video called Ultimate Guide to Erections. So I go into a lot of this stuff, but basically, and Juan's asking about porn-induced erectile dysfunction. So I think this kind of relates here. Basically, erections, there's many factors. Number one, blood circulation. Obviously, if you have poor circulation, if your diet's questionable, if you're stressed out, you're not getting enough sleep, you're low sexual vitality, you're always fight or flight mode, your erections are going to suffer. So that's kind of the more physical aspects, right? And then, of course, porn-induced erectile dysfunction, like you were asking about, this is very much related to some distortions in your arousal response in your nervous system, right? Because porn is so overstimulating, and especially when we're watching porn in our teenage years, as our brains and our bodies are developing, it starts to wire in these, certain needs and to like what type of experience we need to experience arousal, right? It starts to really distort these patterns. Um, so the most helpful thing for this is to obviously stop watching porn and also to cut out other dopamine releasing activity, excessive dopamine activities like, playing video games, scrolling through social media, things like that. So dopamine detoxing is helpful where you spend a day or a few days if you can, no screens, no electronic devices, just, being in nature or whatever, go on a camping trip, right? But I found, whoa, just almost fell there. I found Qigong and meditation for myself really helpful in kind of rewiring my body, getting back into a more homeostasis in my system. Okay, Matthew is saying, I'm 32 and losing hope of finding a girlfriend or life partner. Well, again, don't obsess and focus on this. If you're living in this, depression, this desperation around trying to find someone in your life, it's going to create a weird kind of program in your field, we could say. So really, I encourage you to let go of this. Say, let go of this, not focus on trying to attract someone and just be yourself. Enjoy cultivating yourself, do some manifestation practices too. Okay, Sean, 1996 boys talking about, with regards to the Qigong practice in the course, I find it hard to visualize because I'm struggling with OCD and I overthink everything. I feel I don't put up my intention into the visualizations, then I won't feel the effects or earn benefits. Okay, so with the Qigong practices I teach, visualization is not the most important thing. The most important thing with Qigong practices is anchoring the mind within the body. So as I teach, in Qigong, a good focal point in the beginning is to anchor your mind into this point, the Dalling point in the wrist. You do that as you're doing the Qigong movements, as you're relaxing your body, sinking the Qi into the earth, that will start to light you up. So you don't need to visualize anything. I know I added a few things like that you can visualize. These are just kind of augmentations, but the most important thing is the anchoring of the mind within the body as you're doing movements, and that will really amp up the Qi flow. So don't visualize at all. You don't need to. Okay, Randall Frank asks, ever experienced sleep paralysis before? Yeah, I've definitely experienced this several times. When I was really into lucid dreaming, where I was like, practicing lucid dreaming every night, I would often wake up, my mind woke up, my body was still asleep, my body was still in paralysis. And it's a very, very bizarre feeling. It feels like someone's like sitting on your chest and there's nothing you can do to move your body. I remember like hearing my alarm going off and just like, I can't move. This is terrifying. Then after a little bit, I was able to move. So this happened to me a lot when I was doing lucid dreaming, because when you lucid dream, the mind stays awake, but the body's asleep. But for me, what's even weirder than sleep paralysis is going into a dream state consciously, like consciously going into the sleep and into the dream without losing your awareness. That is a trip, because all these weird things start to happen. You start hallucinating. It sounds like things are like banging on the door. You'll see like weird, figures in your room. It's kind of a terrifying experience. There's like electricity running through your body. So that's a trip. What do I think about 5-element Tantra? I've never studied it. Yes, as I'm doing a Q&A right now. Okay, so someone asks this every time. Is there a loss of energy through pre-cum, through the pre-ejaculate fluid? No, there's not. It's not semen. It's different. It's just it's like blowing your nose. You're not losing anything. Yeah, it's my new telly I got last week. It's pretty sweet. Sounds amazing. Okay, Sean. So talking about the visualizations for the inner smile and the 6 healing sounds. So instead of, okay, for the inner smile, for example, instead of like visualizing things, just feel your awareness in the part of the body you're working with. So you send this energy of acceptance, of compassion into that part of your body. You don't need to visualize it. Just feel your awareness in that part of your body. Simple as that. Same thing with the 6 healing sounds. Just feel the organ you're working with. You inhale, breathe into that organ, exhale from it. As simple as that. Yeah, lucid dreaming is it's a fascinating experience. I recommend getting into this if you've never tried it. It's because to awaken within your dreams and to play in the dream world fully conscious, it's a trip because it's as real as the world around us now. I mean, it feels even more real sometimes, right? And it really changes your perception on things. You're like, okay, I'm having this experience of being in the body in this world, but this isn't actually my body. This is, some kind of projection of my consciousness. So it really changes things for you. And you can really access your subconscious mind in lucid dreaming states. It's pretty trippy. My go-to technique for lucid dreaming is so set your, if you want to induce a lucid dream, do a little research on this, but you set your alarm to go off after like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, because you need to be somewhat rested to become lucid in the dream state, because your mind has to be aware enough, right? So you set your alarm 4 or 5 hours, you wake up after 4 to 5 hours of sleep, and then stay awake for like about 30 minutes was my sweet spot. Read about lucid dreaming, read about induction techniques, whatever, and just have that idea in your mind, like, okay, when I go to sleep, I'm going to wake up in my dream. You just keep telling yourself this. You go back to sleep with that intention, and you'll often go straight into a lucid dream. That was, the technique I had the most success with. Healing Indigo says, Sadhguru said that 75% of the internet is porn. Do you think there's a hidden agenda? Yeah, I mean, it's a control system. Nothing in the world's free. Water isn't free. But porn, it's available to everyone, right? It's a control system. It's a system to lure you into a trap so that you're sending your energy, you're sending your gene, your sexual energy into a specific place. What's collecting all this energy? There's some weird dark entities around all this that people are bonding to, sexually when they're masturbating to porn. And again, it's conditioning everyone to be a porn addict, to be a sex addict, to this lustful expression of sex. This is the programming and conditioning of human sexuality. It's been hijacked, right? So yes, there's definitely an agenda here. Okay, Randall Frank says, is it normal to feel lightheaded after the transformational breath work? This happened to me this morning. Yes, transformational breath work is a practice I teach in my online course. It's extremely powerful. Like I said, it's like it puts you into like this psychedelic trip. Very, very powerful. But yeah, lightheaded, very, very normal. You'll have all kinds of unusual body sensations doing this practice. It really activates you. Black White says, what is transmutation in alchemy? Transmutation, I'm not exactly sure the context, the system, whatever, but overall, it's this idea that you're taking a crude substance and you're refining it into something usable. The metaphor is turning lead into gold. Lead is this kind of toxic metal, but gold is something very usable, right? So that's the thing with internal alchemy, is we're refining various aspects of maybe your psyche, maybe your emotions, your sexual energy, and you're turning them into something that's much more refined, something that's maybe pure consciousness, chi that you can put into your body, and work with. We're still kids saying, watching about lucid dreaming on YouTube, then the night you saw your hands in the white room and saw an extra finger on your hand and you knew you were lucid. Yeah. So there's another thing with lucid dreaming, is you have to start to program yourself to question, am I in a dream state right now? Am I dreaming? Because when you do that throughout your day, that carries over into when you're actually dreaming. So, you want to have ways to test if you're dreaming. One is like trying to push your hand through your other hand. Sometimes in a dream, it'll just go right through. Trying to plug your nose and breathe through it. For me, what always works is like reading text. Like in a dream, if I read text, I look away and read it again. It's always like changed around. So you kind of do these checks throughout your day am I dreaming? And it starts to carry over into your dreams. Matthew, how long did you do the transformational breath work for? Did you do it for 30 minutes? Israel Blue Star says the semen and sexual energy can be used for fast manifestation. It will definitely improve your manifestation because sexual energy is creative energy. It's this magnetic energy, and working with it can help you to, really draw things into your life. But you also have to be able to take action as well. Light Yagami, hey, what's up, brother? Appreciate that. All right, guys. I think I actually got through all the questions today. That usually doesn't happen. So wishing you guys the best. Have a great weekend. Cultivate your sexual energy. Cultivate yourself. Keep your focus on what you want in this world, what you want in your life. Put your energy into positive things. Don't focus on fear. Don't focus on limitations, but focus on who you want to be. What do you want to create? Create the world you want to live in. All right, guys. Take care. I'll see you next week, same time.